Why is Songjia's fake designer clothes such a big deal among Koreans? Are there no Koreans who wear fake designer clothes? Okay, another good letter, and as always, I was allowed to use this as topic for my video, but not allowed to actually reveal the identity of the person who wrote me the letter. So I will read part of the letter, part of the letter that he wrote or she wrote me. Why is Songjia's fake designer clothes such a big deal among Koreans? Are there no Koreans who wear fake designer clothes? All these influencers are just as much of a liar as she is. They all have pretended to be something they are not. Some are worse. Why are they making a big deal out of fake clothes? Those brands are thieves anyway with their overpriced products. They deserve what Songjia did to them. Make money off their name without buying their product. Okay, first, a disclaimer, I'm not an expert in Korean culture. I'm not even an expert in my own culture or any other Asian culture for that matter. I'm just a student. I try to read as much as I can, understand as much as I can, do my own research, and converse with as many people as I want. I try to observe, but I'm so far from being an expert. So this is just one of the many point of views that may be presented. And if there's anybody out there that can give some clarity into the issue, please do so. Okay, so as far as I know, the issue has never been about the fake designer clothes, but about her lying about it. Had she been more upfront about it from the very beginning, it wouldn't have been an issue. I think one of the casts of Single Inferno was actually caught, actually wore a fake designer bag or something. She had the designer purse with her, but it was fake, or she was wearing fake designer clothes, but it was okay because she was honest about it. So that has been the whole issue. I do agree that it is nice to flip the process and have somebody use these brands without having to buy their products for her income and stuff. But I don't, of course, condone lying. Not just in this instance, but in any instance for that matter. So I do think that she should have been just upfront about it. And also, I do think it's just, some form of integrity. If you have a brand partnership with that product, you need to wear their authentic product because they paid you good money to do it. You shouldn't be wearing fake ones while you're endorsing them, right? So, but that's just my personal conviction. Now, there's this one thing that I read about the Korean society. It was written by Ogura Kizo. I read part of the book, and it just I think it's good. At least to me, it explained a lot on why netizens are so critical of their celebrities. Just a single wrongdoing, and they want to end the career of that person. I don't necessarily. I haven't read the entire book, but I think but the parts that I read is that provided me with a good explanation. Okay, so Ogura Kizo is a professor of Kyoto University, and he actually studied in Seoul National University for almost a decade to try and study the Korean society. So his explanation says that the Korean society follows the Neo-Confucianism society. Okay, so he says that the Neo-Confucianism society is not just an old ideology, but an actual philosophy that they follow to this day. Now, for us to understand what Neo-Confucianism is, we need to understand what Confucianism is first. Okay, so if Christianity has a God that laid down the law and provided people certain guidance and commandments on how to live their life, and the same thing is true as well for Islam. They have Allah and He has His word, and they follow that word. For Confucianism, they believe that our guiding principle should be the common well-being of the society. So we should be making decisions, and we should be living our lives in accordance to what is going to be good for everybody and not just for ourselves. They believe that intrinsically people are intrinsically good. We are good by nature, and that we are improvable, teachable, and perfectible. They do have certain basic laws that they follow. There's Ren, Yi, Li, and Ji. And Ren is I think it's the basis of humanity, which is compassion. It is the virtue of heaven. And then Yi is the act of upholding righteousness and moral disposition to do good. And then there's Li, which is the system of ritual norms that determines how a person should properly act in everyday life in harmony with the law of heaven. And then there's she, which is the ability to see what is right and what is fair. Now, Confucianism is influenced by Taoism and Buddhism. So there are some metaphysical and superstitions in Confucianism. Now, Neo-Confucianism takes out the metaphysical and the superstition, and they just stay on the basic of it, which is the welfare of the society. So they don't need all of those superstitions, those ritual and ceremonies. They believe that our guiding principle, we will all be guided by what is good for everybody. That is all that we need. No need for metaphysical or stuff like that. Ogura says, Korean society is a large theater upon which elaborate moral struggles occur. Its dynamism and palm-sweating thrill and excitement derive from these characteristics. So he says that there is only one moral standard and everyone must live up to it. That should be the basis, the basic and the base of everybody's personality and life. And without that, you can't be anything else. For you to be acknowledged to be something else, you need to be first moral. Okay, and there's only one moral standard. So for example, in the Western society, and he says, even in the Japanese society, there's a relative comparison. So for example, this is just an example, like I have done a lot of wrong things in my life, but I've done some good things as well, and that will do. That's good enough. And the same thing is true for the Western society. There are a lot of bad things that you may have done, but you've done some good, so that's good enough. That's good enough. You're okay, something like that. But in Korean society, that's not acceptable. You have to be morally perfect or you're nothing. So you cannot be measured by your contribution alone. It has to be first based or grounded on your morality. Artists and athletes can't be revered or judged based on their achievements alone, regardless of how many medals they've won or championships they've won or the honor that they've brought to the country. Or the same thing is true for artists. Like if you're, doesn't matter how many competitions you won or awards that you've won, if you do not live up to the moral standards set by the Korean society, then you're nothing. And the thing is that there's only one moral standard. As I've said, it's not relative. Like how good you are is not relative. There's only one moral standard and you have to live up to it. Everybody's based on it. Now, because of such a stringent and strict moral standard, everyone becomes a watchdog. It becomes everyone's obligation or responsibility to call out people for the things that they do. So they are not just busy proving that they are good, they are also busy proving that others are bad. Okay, so there's one standard, everyone has to live up to that standard, and it's everybody's responsibility to make sure that everyone lives up to that standard, and that is why they are very, very critical of everything. So I don't know if that's helpful to you. It is helpful to me. It kind of made me understand a little bit more about who they are. I'm not saying that I agree with such a way of life, but it's not my business to tell them how they live. It's not my country. I'm not Korean. It's theirs, and that's their society. They get to decide. But as I've said, it makes me understand them a little bit more. It makes me respect them a little bit more. Okay, all right. Hope that helps.